Have you ever felt like you were being watched? Not just a fleeting feeling, but a constant, unnerving presence in the quiet corners of your own home. For me, that feeling wasn't just in my head. It came from her, from the painting. It all started when I inherited my great-aunt Alara's house, a charming, if slightly dilapidated cottage nestled deep in the countryside, the kind of place filled with forgotten treasures and the scent of old books and lavender. But among all the antiques, one thing immediately captured my attention. A large, oil painting hanging in the master bedroom, right across from the bed. It was a portrait of a woman, unnamed, with hair the color of midnight and eyes that held a peculiar, almost melancholic depth. The artist had signed it with a simple, elegant A. My great-aunt had always called her the lady of the house. She said the painting had been in the family for generations, a silent guardian. At first I found it beautiful, a piece of history. The woman's expression was serene, her hands delicately folded in her lap, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips. It felt peaceful. The first few nights were blissful. The silence of the country was a welcome change from the city's constant hum. But then subtle things started happening. I'd wake up convinced I'd heard a soft rustle, like the sound of silk dragging across a wooden floor. I'd dismiss it as the old house settling, or a mouse in the walls. Then came the first real incident. I went to bed one evening, exhausted from unpacking. As I drifted off, I glanced at the painting. The lady was there, serene as always. But when I woke up in the middle of the night, heart pounding from a bad dream, something was different. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. I flicked on the bedside lamp and my breath caught in my throat. Her head, it was tilted, just slightly to the left. Before, she had been looking straight ahead, directly out of the canvas. Now her gaze seemed to be directed towards the window. I stared, my mind racing. Was I just tired? Was it a trick of the light? I told myself it had to be. I must have remembered it wrong. I forced myself to turn off the light and go back to sleep, though my eyes kept darting towards the dark rectangle on the wall. The next morning, she was looking straight ahead again. I felt a wave of relief, mixed with a nagging suspicion that I was losing my mind. It's just the stress of moving, I told myself. But that night I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I lay in bed, pretending to be asleep, my eyes barely slitted open, focused on the painting. For hours, nothing happened. Just as I was about to give up, convinced I was being paranoid, I saw it. A flicker. A minute. Almost imperceptible shift. One of her hands, the one resting on top of the other, had moved. The fingers were now slightly curled, no longer relaxed. I sat bolt upright, my heart hammering against my ribs. It wasn't my imagination. It was real. From then on, it became a nightly ritual of terror. Every night, something would change. One night, her faint smile would be gone, replaced by a straight, solemn line. The next, a single painted tear would appear to glisten on her cheek, only to vanish by morning. The most terrifying night was when I woke up to find her entire posture had shifted. She was no longer sitting demurely, but was leaning forward slightly, as if trying to get a closer look at me. Her eyes, once melancholic, now seemed to burn with an intense, unsettling curiosity. I started sleeping with the lights on, but it didn't help. The shadows just played different tricks, and the feeling of her gaze was even more potent. I tried covering the painting with a sheet, but the feeling of being watched was somehow worse, as if she were peering at me from beneath the fabric. I'd wake up in a cold sweat to find the sheet on the floor, even though I knew I hadn't touched it. Desperate, I started researching the painting. I rummaged through my great-aunt's old journals, searching for any mention of the lady. Finally, tucked away in a dusty attic box, I found a small leather-bound diary belonging to my great-great-grandmother, the first owner of the house. Her entries started out cheerful, but they soon took a dark turn. She wrote about the beautiful portrait her husband, an amateur artist named Alistair, had painted of her. She mentioned how he'd become obsessed, working on it day and night. But then, the entries grew fearful. She wrote, "Alistair has captured more than my likeness. He has captured a piece of me. When I look at her, I see a stranger wearing my face, a stranger who moves when I am not looking. The last entry was chilling. She wants to be free. She watches me sleep. I feel her pulling at me, wanting to switch places. I fear the night. I fear what happens when I close my eyes. After that entry, the diary was empty. Historical records showed that my great-great-grandmother had simply vanished one morning, never to be seen again. Her husband, Alistair, the artist, lived out his days as a recluse in the house, eventually passing away in his sleep. A cold dread washed over me. This wasn't just a haunted painting, it was a prison. And the woman inside, my own ancestor, was trapped. Or maybe she wasn't the one who was trapped. Maybe she was the one waiting. That night I decided I couldn't stay in that room any longer. I moved into the guest bedroom, but the house itself felt tainted. I could still feel her presence, her silent watchfulness extending beyond the canvas. I considered selling the house, selling the painting, but who would believe me? And could I, in good conscience, pass this curse on to someone else? One evening, gathering my courage, I walked back into the master bedroom. I stood before the painting, my heart pounding. This time, she wasn't just looking at me. Her painted lips were parted, as if she were about to speak, and on the small table painted beside her, which had always been empty, now rested a single ornate key, a key that looked identical to the one for the attic door. I knew then what she wanted, what she had been trying to tell me all along. She wasn't trying to harm me. She was trying to show me something hidden away for over a century. With trembling hands, I took the real key and went to the attic. The air was thick with dust and forgotten memories. Using my phone's flashlight, I searched until I found it, hidden beneath a pile of old canvases in the far corner. A locked wooden chest with the same initial, A, carved into the lid. It was Alistair's. Inside, I found his private journals. His final entries revealed the horrifying truth. In his obsession to create the perfect masterpiece, a painting that felt truly alive, he had delved into forbidden ancient rituals. He hadn't just painted his wife's portrait. He had bound her spirit to the canvas, believing it would grant the painting eternal life. But the ritual had backfired. He had trapped her, and in doing so, created a conscious, restless entity. He spent the rest of his life trying to reverse what he had done, but he never could. I now understood. The moving figure, the shifting expressions. It was my ancestor, trying to communicate, trying to guide me to the truth. She wasn't a monster. She was a prisoner. I don't know how to free her. The journals offer no solution, so for now, the painting sits in the attic, covered, but not forgotten. I still live in the house, her house. Sometimes I go up there and talk to her, telling her about my day, assuring her that she's not alone. I no longer feel fear when I think of her. I feel a profound sadness and a sense of duty. She is my family. The lady of the house is no longer a silent guardian, but a lost soul waiting. And I will not abandon her. Thank you so much for joining me on this unsettling journey into my family's past. If you've ever had a strange or inexplicable experience with an old object, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories from the shadows. Stay safe and maybe check your paintings.